certainly every year that LSU and Alabama play each other, it is one of the most watched games that we're going to see in college football. And there's big reasons as to why. Not the least of which is national champions usually come out of this game, right? LSU 2019, resounding, right? 2020, Alabama, resounding. You can take this all the way back to the beginning of the Nick Saban era with Les Miles and Ed Orgeron both winning national championships at LSU. And with Brian Kelly and Kalen DeBoer, you have two guys that have taken a job expressly to win the national championship. Brian Kelly was very, very clear about leaving Notre Dame for the job at LSU because he wanted to get to a program where he knew he was going to have the backing and the resources to go get the thing that he has wanted for his entire career, which is the national championship at the highest level. Kalen DeBoer has quite literally won national championships at other places, right? And he is one of the best coaches to ever live on winning percentage. We're talking about a guy who has yet to lose 15 games in his entire career, and he's been coaching as a head coach for 20 plus, right? He turned Indiana into a power before going into Fresno State and taking that program to new heights. And then at Washington, he turns that program over, and within a couple of years, they're playing in the national title game. Now, both LSU and Alabama have their backs firmly against the wall in this year of the 12-team playoff. And if we get back to the beginning of this season, we would not have thought that one of the teams that loses this game is likely out of the college football playoff, but it's that simple. You win this game, your likelihood of making it into the playoff as one of the 12 best teams goes through the roof, right? We all believe the SEC is a really great league, one of the two best leagues in college football, and we all believe that LSU and Alabama are two of the top 15 teams in the country. But the way that we have structured the format, only the Power 4 champions really get assured that spot, and the Group of 5 champion, the highest ranked Group of 5 champion. So you really need to either win the SEC championship or prove that you have put together a resume and a strength of record that allows for the selection committee to do that, to put you in there. With Bama, LSU, they're kind of sort of in right now, but that's because they haven't played each other. With LSU taking a loss, right, to SC, an SC that's not really that good on a neutral site in Vegas, it's not a great look, right? You talk about what Alabama has had to come back from, like getting that loss to Vanderbilt is huge. That loss to Tennessee is even bigger. And then LSU's loss to A&M. You're talking about a 5-way tie at the top of the SEC where it does feel like any one of those teams could be the conference champion if it just broke for them in just the right way. But for LSU, it's the cleanest path. You beat Alabama, it feels like you're going to win the rest of your games. Oklahoma's really not that good this year, and you can get into the SEC championship game. And we think that if you get into the SEC championship game, you're going to be assured a spot. Same thing is true for Alabama. You run through LSU and the rest of your schedule, you're probably going to get into the SEC championship game. And then we get to remind everybody who the defending SEC champion is in Jalen Milroe in Alabama. And, of course, Jalen Milroe famously beat Georgia last year to knock them out of the college football playoff and to put themselves firmly in to the college football playoff after getting benched earlier in the year after playing a bad game against Texas. He's been streaky this year. There's no getting around that. He has had days where he is the best player on the earth. Like it's him and Lamar Jackson, right? And then there are days where it's like, Jalen Milroe, what are you doing? How is this even possible? So how he plays, I think, is going to directly affect how this game goes. I know what we're going to get out of Garrett Nussmeier. He's probably going to go for 3 bills and throw the ball 35, 40 times. And that's probably because they're going to have to, right? Kyron Lacey's going to have to be huge for them. Cade Durham is going to have to be an impact player for them on offense. And that defense is going to have to show it can stop a running threat in Jalen Milroe because they couldn't do it against Marcel Reed, which is why I go back to Jalen Milroe as the biggest player in this game. If you can stop Jalen Milroe from running away from you, you have a chance to beat them. Make Jam Miller run the football. Make Justice Haynes run the football. However, there are a few things in life that I like to choose between worse. It's Jalen Milroe running away from me or Jam and Justice running away from me with that offensive line. Blake Baker's going to have his defenses by the collar going into this thing, man. They got to know that if this game gets out of hand, it's on them. Because if it goes into the 40s, anybody can win it. And that's what Alabama feels like. It can be a high-powered offense that can win you football games. And that way it kind of reminds me of Oklahoma era Lincoln Riley. But even so, right, I think what I'm taking from this is we're going to get to find out who is about it in championship November, right? We're going to get to find out whether or not these programs still have the kind of backbone that it takes to get into the postseason. And this is the most consequential November that we've had in quite some time, if not ever, because we're still playing for an opportunity to play for the national championship across the board, right? There's even a road for a team like Boise State to get there. As we are taking a look at what the offensive lines and defensive lines are going to be like for an LSU team that I think is really good, and what Alabama has been with Jahad Campbell playing his behind off, I think we can call that a wash between their offensive line and Alabama's, because LSU's got 3 probably first, second, third round draft picks on that offensive line, 2 at one at each tackle position, 1 at guard, and then of course we know that Alabama offensive line has kind of been through it, but when they put it together, they're really formidable and they're hard to beat. I think we're talking about a one-possession game, and we're probably talking about, does Graham Nicholson earn his money? Does Graham Nicholson make the kicks that he needs to make for Alabama to pull out what should be a win for them? And that's mostly what this is for me. I think Alabama is in a better position to win this because they got Jalen Milroe and Garrett Nussmeier, as good as he is, and he is great, and I love Garrett Nussmeier. He does not make it happen with his legs like Jalen Milroe can. I'm thinking about Thursday Night Football, where it was really Lamar Jackson who outdueled Jamar Chase and Joe Burrow by himself. Like that 58-yard or that kind of skip dance down to the 1-yard line. That's the kind of stuff that Jalen Milroe can do. I don't see Garrett Nussmeier doing that. That said, if Cade Durham is running the football very well, he doesn't got to do that, right? Like that's the thing here. It's really going to be a race to 40. I think the first team to get to 40 is probably going to be the team that wins. I don't see this game staying under 70 as a total. I think that we're going to see defenses that are on the back foot. I think we're going to see one-on-ones. I think we're going to see some really hard football played. And in that, we're going to find out just which one of these teams is positioned to go win the SEC championship and perhaps secure, if not the 1, but the 2 seed in the first 12-team college football playoff.